Lynn, we're here in your kitchen, and you got a new album.
The new album is called Come Into the Kitchen, and I am heading out on Via Rail.
Wow.
So I applied for their Artist on Board program, and it travels between Toronto and Vancouver, going west, and then there's another train that goes out east, and I applied to go out to Vancouver, and thousands of people apply for this. You have to really be ready for it. There is no internet on board, so if you think that you have enough songs that you know off by heart, think again. You play 3 45-minute sets a day. And you don't know if you'll have the same people for the 4.5 days that it takes to go across Canada. So you want to make sure you've got lots of music. The focus is generally on Canadian, although you can play whatever you like. And contracts differ from artist to artist as to what they're offering you. I'm very fortunate. Not only do they pay for my berth, my meals, and my travel across Canada, they also cover my husband. So I'm very fortunate because he's not performing. He's not a musician, and he didn't want to do any painting on board, so there's no artwork for him. And it usually is either a solo or a duo that they allow. And as I said, everything is different. Now, they did offer me a return trip, but it wasn't until June the 15th, which meant I would have had to hang out in Vancouver for, a little over a month.
Sounds really cool. I want to hear what's new on this album. What are the songs that you really like? And we'll talk a little bit about the date that you start with this.
Okay, so the new album, Come Into the Kitchen, started about 3 years ago in 2023, and I decided I wanted to have a kitchen party album. Growing up, we always had kitchen parties. Even I think before we kids came along, my parents did. My dad was from Netherlands, my mother was French Canadian, and I think it was just their way of being social with family and friends. Got to remember, one time there wasn't any TV, and radio was usually your entertainment unless you had family members or friends that played instruments. And in rural Northern Ontario, you basically got one channel on the television when it did come out. It was a very inexpensive way for people to gather, maybe bring food together, have some musical entertainment. Friends and family would come with their kids. We'd be sequestered off by about 9 o'clock or just hang out on the steps and listen to everybody till we got old enough, then we could come down and join the party, or you joined in the party and got scooted off to bed. So
what are the songs that make it a kitchen party album?
Oh, Peach, Pear, Apple, Chardonnay. That's my female drinking song.
Okay.
So one night after we had a big bonfire, I decided to come inside and write a song. I used to make Peach, Pear, Apple, Chardonnay. It was about 14%. Everybody loved it. So it just came to mind. So I wrote the song, and it's kind of catchy. Reminds you of the 30s and 40s, if you remember the Andrews Sisters. So kind of in that type of genre setting. And another song on the album that is really near and dear to my heart is Dancing with Daddy. It's a waltz. When I was getting married, my dad had died the year previous, so I never got that daddy-daughter dance. Although I am fortunate that I did learn how to dance on my dad's feet, like I think many, many women have. And then he would watch me dance with other people when we'd go to weddings and such. But he just knew. He knew with Stephen that he was the one. And he had even told me that. And we didn't realize how sick he was. So we ended up getting married, and he wasn't there. And I thought, what a perfect way to remember my dad. And the story just goes through from a young girl to an adult, and her dad watching her transition. And I just think it's a beautiful song on the album.
Right on. Now, there's a bit of a process before you launch the CD other than what you have. So it's available at certain stores here, are available as a CD right now?
Yes. Right now, CDs are available. That's the only way you're going to hear the songs on the album, unless I do an event somewhere and then upload something acoustically. But a full production, the only way you're going to hear it is if I do a listening party, or in North Bay, you can go to Michelle's gallery, The Frame Maker in downtown. And she actually carries all 3 of my albums along with my artwork and my original greeting cards, hand painted.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And now you got to do some videos and other stuff to launch it online or something?
Oh, yeah. So the first 2 CDs that I did, I kind of rolled out on my own and learned along the way. And right now I've partnered up with Creative Industries Ontario North, and Melanie St. Pierre is helping me to do a traditional rollout of the album. So I have to have 4 singles and do 4 videos. So they will start coming out either June or July. We haven't quite decided yet. It's going to depend on how quickly I can get things done when I get back from Vancouver, because we're going to Victoria for a few weeks after. And so, yeah, hopefully everything will be out by November. That's the goal. And I have put out some private messages to a few artists in and around North Bay to see if people are interested in coming out and doing some videos. And I'll probably put out a crowd reach, because I need a crowd for a couple of videos, and get some releases signed, and we'll get some videos out.
Well, that's a pretty involved process there. You've been at this for quite a while. What are some of the things you've learned to get yourself on track?
Oh, you have to be extremely, extremely organized. Last year I did 86 performances on top of working full-time in an album on top of that. So it meant days started at 5 a.m. and sometimes midnight your days ended. You learn to be very organized. You learn to coordinate with other people who were the same. It just helps to know what you want and where you want to go with your music. And you're always out there looking for a spot to play. North Bay has over 250 musicians, and there are only 5 spots that regularly hire. So it means that you're not necessarily going to be able to stay in town to play if you are a gigging musician who is doing this as a living and not just as a hobby. Mm-hmm. And you have to learn to have some pretty tough skin. I've written 5 grants, never gotten one yet. Can't take it personally. Lots of people apply. There are hundreds and hundreds, just like via rail. Thousands apply for that every year. And you don't know if you're going to get picked. Mm-hmm. So you can't give up if this is truly your passion. I've wanted to do this since I was 4 years old, and sang on my front porch, or I sang on the steps at Algonquin Lunch across from Algonquin High School. And, I've done things from then till now to try and get better at singing and writing. And guitar came in 2016, and that's what kind of helped everything move along really quickly.
Tell us about your guitar in your lap there.
So this guitar is Chickadee, and she is a handmade guitar. I have really bad arthritis and carpal tunnel, so I needed something a little smaller. And Bridget Charland is a luthier out of New Liskeard, and she actually made this guitar, and there's no other guitar like this. There's a sound hole in it. She's done all this inlay work. There's a Chickadee up here. That's one of her signatures. And she also inside puts her name, and they're all numbered. And when I did my album, Come Into the Kitchen with Peter Cleash, he actually owned this guitar. And when we first started the album, he introduced me to her, and he says, and don't worry, when we're done the album, we'll talk about this. So the last day of wrap up, he said, okay, remember that guitar I told you about? And I said, uh-huh. She's still there. Are you interested? And I said, well, Peter, you know the rule. If the guitar is truly supposed to be mine, there will be a song in it. And he says, well, I'm heading off to Mexico, so take it, try it. He says, we'll talk. So I brought it home, looked at my husband, and I said, I know, no more guitars, but I said, I got to try this one. So I took it out, I played her, she wrote a song. I said, well, I guess she's going to stay. So I called up Peter and said, okay, Peter, I'll buy this guitar. Next thing you know, I was doing a transfer, and it's the best feeling guitar that I have ever played. And now I'm ready to get rid of all the rest. So if anybody out there is looking for a guitar, I've got a few for sale.
Oh, right on. We'll put something in the description there, how to get a hold of you and buy your guitars.
Perfect.
Right. Now, you just had some gigs in Sudbury where they seem to be welcoming you with open arms.
I've been very, very fortunate to be embraced by the Sudbury Performance Group. Mark Ministo runs 50/50s and bingos. He works with venues in Sudbury to help support live music and especially singer-songwriter performers. I will be doing there is a documentary coming out on singer-songwriter performers in Northern Ontario. I was fortunate enough that Sudbury Performance Group asked me to participate. I am the only performer outside of Sudbury that was selected. And this past weekend, I was in Azilda at the Dog House. That was through Sudbury Performance Group. La Fromagerie in downtown Sudbury on Elgin Street. That's a regular place for me to play now. And I was invited by Cat Entertainment to play in Blind River for a fundraiser for their local hospital. And it was so amazing, open arms. I just jumped in, helped them set up tables and chairs. And by the end of the night, I was no longer a stranger. And they were saying, well, we'll see you the next time that you're here, which was a really welcoming feeling to know that they don't care when you're coming back, but they're letting you know that you're coming back. And I got to jam with the Shock Brothers, and I found out there's a few musicians in and around North Bay and area and Temagami that know them. And so it was really nice to get up and do a few songs with them.
And they pay a little bit better than North Bay.
Well, I never shy to say what I get paid, especially when I'm going to Sudbury or a new place, because I think if we all stay on the same page, venues can't, undercut or say, well, I'll give you this, or I'll give you drinks and a meal to play. That's great. That's what jams and open mics are for. But if you're trying to do this as a living and you're paying studio musicians for albums, I think you really have to come up with a standard. And maybe we need something like a North Bay Performance Group. I know I've talked to Holly Cunningham at Creative Industries North Bay and given her Mark's contact information, because it would be great if we could do something that ties in the community so that people who are performing in North Bay are given a better wage when they're performing, because I think the standards are now even lower than they were in the 70s and 80s in some instances.
Well, economics is supply and demand, and there's a lot of musicians here and not many places to play. So the venues have the advantage, and of course that's the way economics kind of work. But also, like you're saying, if other places are a better market, then eventually that does sort of transfer over, and people have to raise their prices a little bit. It's tough. Not a whole lot of people are going out for shows as much as well too. So
we have a smaller population in North Bay than they have in Sudbury, and I think they might have higher paying jobs in a lot of areas than what we have. So that makes a big difference. So I totally understand that, and I don't want that to be a diss against the local venues.
It's just the reality.
It's reality of what's happening, but that's why I'm saying if we could do a model similar to Sudbury Performance Group where 50/50s and bingos are run, that we can help the venues and support them by saying, listen, okay, if all you can afford to pay somebody to come out and play is $150, then we're willing to work with you, sell the 50/50s. People can go out and work the bingos just like they do for the sports teams. And then that money could go even for Dreamcoat. That could help with that as well. There's just other ways that I think if we all group ourselves together and maybe have a big conversation of how we can improve the arts in North Bay, that I think we can come up with some solutions, and some of us are really willing to put themselves out there and help to make this happen. I know I am. And I'd love to talk to anybody who wants to get together and do this.
So when do you head out on Via Rail?
May 3rd to the 7th, and then I'm going to be in Vancouver for a couple of days, and then heading to Victoria to see my son and my daughter-in-law, and then the 21st we fly back to North Bay.
Right on. Well, that should be a nice adventure. You've been to the East Coast for songwriting workshops. Tell me a bit about that, because you mentioned it when you opened up for an East Coaster event at Chippewa with a gentleman. I can't remember his name.
Shane Pendergast.
Yeah.
Yeah, so back in 2023, when I was starting this album, Come Into the Kitchen, I had the opportunity to go to St. John's, Newfoundland and take a songwriting course with Murray Foster from the Toronto Songwriting School, Alan Doyle, and Amelia Curran. And at that time, I had 2 albums out. And of course, we had COVID, so it made it really tough for anybody playing. Like my first 2 albums, I wasn't even in the same room with anybody else. So, and we couldn't play. So I had flown out there, and I was fortunate enough when Alan Doyle came in, he had come down the stairs, and he said he was really dry of songs. And we were told that we couldn't bring our guitars downstairs. We wouldn't be able to play anything for Alan, that he was just coming to tell us how he writes. Well, I brought my tablet downstairs because I thought if I can do anything, I can sing. Yeah. And I wanted him to hear Out at Sea, which of course made it onto this album. And so when he came down the stairs, I said, Alan Doyle, my name is Lynn Blunt. I am from North Bay, Ontario, and I have 3 songs in Great Big Sea style. And he says, well, now I've got to hear them. I said, well, we weren't allowed to bring our guitars. So I said, I'll have to sing it. And he said, well, you know what? Here's my guitar. I said, well, I need a pick. Here's your pick. And he handed it to me. And my husband was videotaping it. And of course, Murray Foster's on the couch. He's going, no, you can't videotape. Because we didn't have a release. No release form. And it wasn't supposed to be like that. So I played the song, and Alan looked over at Murray and said, Murray, that's a Great Big Sea song. So I sent him an email. I said, I'm getting ready to do my album, but I had offered him my business card to get a hold of me if he wanted to buy it. I said, Alan, I haven't heard from you. I said, so let me know if you want the song, and if I don't hear from you from such and such a date, it's going on my album. Well, he didn't buy it, so it's on my album.
Right on. Well, any last words before we go? Anything to do with anything else coming up this summer that you're at?
Oh, I'll be at Bay Block Party. So I'm on the Friday night, I will be at the Moose in downtown North Bay. There's a few other things that are happening that haven't come out yet, and I have to stay rather hush about them because announcements haven't come out in the area, not just North Bay.
Where does somebody find your announcements? You have a spot on the spaces.ca with
I do.
Bay Today? Yeah.
northbay.spaces.ca. I am one of the hosts of live music. So I go on there and I post where I'm playing. You can also check out on my Facebook page. So I'm got a page under Lynn Blunt Singer. So you can check there, or Lynn Blunt. You can also find me on my Wix.com site. So Lynn Blunt Singer at Wix.com. So, and you know, I'm on all the streaming platforms. So if you put Lynn Blunt into Google, you will find me.
No other Lynn Blunts out there?
There are some Lynn Blunts. There's a doctor. I think there's another musician too, but my picture's there. You'll know who I am.
Is the guitar tuned? Can you give us a little
something?
something?
Is the guitar tuned?
Yeah, let's finish off with just a little something.
Janie girl, oh Janie girl, come to the party tonight. Janie girl, oh Janie girl, come to me by lantern light. You can dance with only me, and all the boys will surely see.